We dig down into the main source of the story, looking over to every angle of the news and providing the audience a better perspective to the issue. Good day, everyone. I'm Alvin Pelobello. This is Watchlist, where public interest matters. For today's story, we will be talking to a representative from the National Commission on Indigenous People to tackle about the programs of the NCIP for our IPs who are in academic row. We will be talking to Miss Jordan Rose Ocon, the officer in charge, Chief of Education and Culture Development Division, and under the Office of the Education, Culture, and Health of the NCIP. Hi, ma'am. Magandang araw and welcome to the program.
Yes, magandang araw, Alvin. Nagagalak akong naimbitahan ninyo kami.
Okay. Ma'am, pag-usapan natin yung program ng NCIP for the year 2024 sa mga kababayan natin katutubo sa Pilipinas. Ano bang nakaalat na program ng NCIP sa mga katutubo natin for this year?
Sa amin sa Education and Culture Development Division under the Office on Education, Culture and Health or OECH, ang ating mga IP learners, so yung ating mga katutubong kabataan, ay meron kaming mga ino-offer under the sub-program na Indigenous Peoples Education and Advocacy Services or IPEAS. We have three. We have the Educational Assistance Program or EAP, and then Merit-Based Scholarship Program or MBSP, and the Support and Advocacy Program or SAP. So sa EAP, we have educational assistance with our elementary to high school, junior high and senior high, at saka college din, meron din kami. And sa vocational din and sa mga degree programs like sa mga medicine and bar. So,
And this program is open to all IPs
all indigenous
na gusto
peoples
mag-aral?
po. Opo, as long as qualified sila. We recently inamend namin yung aming IPS guidelines or the IPS implementation guidelines. So as long as qualified sila, so meron din kami mga requirements na kailangan. So pag qualified sila, as long as meron pang slots, kasi as we can see yung budget ng NCIP is limited talaga. So open naman yun sa lahat.
Now, I would like to know, ma'am, how many scholarships does the NCIP have under these programs?
Actually, ang EAP is, ayun nga, sabi ko nga, it's just an educational assistance. So, we give 2,500 for elementary, ganun. So, pataas siya. And then sa college, we give 10,000 per sem. So, ngayong year lang naman, so nabigyan kami ni Senator Amy Marcos through her initiative ng 77 million na fund increase. But it's just for ngayong taon lang. So, yung scope nung increase na yon is magdagdag ng 2,500 pesos per sem sa ating mga existing na college grantees. And then, additional slots pa dun sa ating mga waitlisted. Kasi madami tayong waitlisted, pero hindi nabibigyan ng pondo dahil wala ng mga slots. So, yun po.
Now, dun tayo sa qualifications, mama, anong mga basehan tinitingnan ng NCIP para maging scholar ito mga kabataang katutubo?
Siyempre, kailangan natin ng patunay na sila ay mga indigenous people. So, kailangan natin ng certification na galing sa kanilang mga community, sa kanilang mga tribal chieftain, gano'n, na sila ay talagang bona fide na mga miyembro ng ating mga indigenous cultural communities. And yun din yung mga, the usual, yung ating mga PSA birth certificate, mga ganun po. So, as long as makomplete nila yung mga requirements na yun, kasi we also have our screening para makita namin kung sino po talaga yung mga deserving talaga sa ating mga IP learners na nag-a-apply for the educational assistance and mga scholarship program.
And of course, yung mga top IP learners natin na nag-excel academically, meron pang mas mataas na pribilehiyo from the NCIP, right?
Yes, meron tayo yun nga, yung merit-based scholarship program para yun sa mga may mas matataas na grades na nakaka-maintain ng kanilang mga grades. So, mas mataas yung mga nabibigay na benefits.
With this program, ma'am, masasabi ba natin na the number of IPs na nag-aaral ay nadagdagan under the term of Baay Jennifer Limpayon Civil Class?
Malaking bagay yung fund increase talaga na naibigay sa atin. Pero yun nga, sa amin, gusto sana namin na parang masustain siya in the coming years, hindi lang this year. So, yun yung kailangan namin
It's a
ilabi sa
challenge. Oo. May baka pwede i-propose naman ni Bahay Jennifer si Buglas sa budget proposal for the year 2025.
Yes, every year naman nanghihingi talaga kami ng mga increase kasi 'di ba? Sobrang sabi ko nga, madami kami mga waitlisted. So, sana para ma-cater natin sila.
And of course, let's just do hope na Senator Amy Marcos would have pledged for the next academic year na magbigay ulit ng increase ng fund for the scholarship ng mga IP learners natin.
Yes po. We really appreciate po yung kanyang initiative po at talagang pinush po niya na mabigyan ng fund increase yung NCIP.
Now, let's talk about the education status ng mga kabataan kasi ito yung hinahandle mga na division sa NCIP, no? How was the educational status of our IP learners?
Sa ngayon kasi yun nga, may mga influx ng mga application. So natutuwa kami na they are very interested na mag-improve, hindi lang sa kanilang personal, but mostly kasi yung kanilang mga advocacy is to give back to their community. Talaga, na parang yung iba gusto maging teacher kasi gusto nilang bumalik sa community to teach at talagang ipalaganap pa na kailangan yung importansya ng edukasyon.
Now, of course, ma'am, different scenarios sa mga yan, no? From katutubo sa mga indigenous cultural communities, and they will have to enroll sa ibang schools na hindi naman nila kumaga in scope of their culture as katutubo. And kamusta yung bilang ng mga katutubo nating learners na nahaharap pa rin sa diskriminasyon kapag nag-aaral sa school?
Ayun, hindi natin kasi maiiwasan yan eh. Kasi even sa society natin, talagang laganap pa din yung discrimination. Yes. But since na-empower sila through the scholarship, through the educational assistance, and nabibigyan sila ng pag-asa and encourage sila na parang pataasin yung antas ng kanilang kaalaman, and then yun nga, makapagtapos sila, makaland ng magandang trabaho, and then they can give back to their community. So malaking bagay na na-empower natin sila. So hindi nila maiisip na, ay, katutubo lang ako. Kundi very proud sila na katutubo ako.
That's a very good thing to hear, no? Kasi for my years as a journalist, majority din naman ng coverage ko is mostly mga indigenous people and indigenous cultural communities all over the Philippines, no? And aside from yung naibibigay na support ng scholarship, ma'am, ano pang mga counseling ang provide natin for those mga IP learners natin na patuloy na nabibiktima ng mga discrimination sa eskwelahan?
Ayun, another thing pa kasi, ano ko lang ha, meron din tayong support kapag sa mga reviews, sa mga professional board examinations, sa mga teachers, so sa mga engineers, accountants. So yung part na yon na even after the assistance, educational assistance and scholarship, after nilang magtapos, mabibigyan pa sila ng chance na talagang maging license. Kasi 'di ba malaking bagay 'yon sa mga professionals. And kapag kasi lisensyado ka, wala nang discrimination eh. Lalo na pag hawak mo na 'yung lisensya mo, teacher ako, engineer ako, attorney ako, ganyan. So very very nakaka-uplift 'yon sa kanila.
Now syempre yung mga pangarap na IPs natin, and it's really fulfilling na marinig sa kanila na they just wanted to finish their study para makapag-give back sa community. Anong kaligayahan ang naibibigay nito for NCIP? Kasi nakikita nyo na nag-nurture ito mga batang, yung mga IP learners na to, and parang gusto nilang bumalik o magbalik loob, magbigay ng tulong sa kanilang komunidad. Anong kaligayahang nabibigay sa NCIP in particular?
Masaya kami sa NCIP kasi like ito 27 years na ang NCIP through IPRA. Natutuwa kami na kahit sa munting budget namin and kung ano man yung kaya namin ibigay na serbisyo is may impact talaga sa indigenous cultural communities.
Wow, that's a good thing to know, ma'am. Kailan naibigay ni Senator Amy Marcos yung additional fund? This year?
Oo.
So early this year?
Oo.
Wow.
Kaya hinihimok namin yung iba pang mga applicants na kung pwede pa silang mag-avail ng Yep, it's for college students.
So it's valid for up until the next school year? Kasi kalagitnaan ng ano
Hindi.
eh.
Fiscal calendar year kasi siya.
Mhm.
So, ang kinikater nito is yun nga second sem ng
Okay,
school year
alright.
2023 to 2024 up to the first sem ng
2024, 2025. Pero aside from, of course, under the leadership ni Ma'am Jen Sibog, meron ba siya nakaalat na projects or programs para mas matugunan itong funding gap ng NCIP para hindi maputol yung scholarship ng mga IP learners natin?
Ayun, sa ngayon, we have plans to lobby pa na sana, yun nga, kung hindi man siya madagdagan, masustain man lang sana for the next years.
Of course. That's one thing na gusto natin mangyari sa ating mga IP learners. Na. Pero sa base sa data niyo, ma'am, sa education sector in culture and health, gaano kalaki yung increase ng mga learners natin for this year na nagkaroon kayo ng mas mataas na funding for scholarship ng mga IPs natin? And mga ilang porsyento yung inangat ng learners?
Actually, hindi siya percentage. So, we have 4,000 plus beneficiaries.
Wow! Compared last year, mga nasa ilan lang?
I mean, yung 4,000 na yun kasi is kasama doon yung existing before.
Okay. So, umabot na ng 4,000.
4,000.
Marami-rami na rin.
Opo.
And all over the region yung program na NCIP nito?
Yes po.
Wow.
So, lahat ng regions, NCIP has 13 ethnographic regions.
Okay, baka may mga mensahe ka po sa mga IP learners natin na patuloy nagsusumika para of course makapag-hatid din ng tulong at makapag-give back sa kanilang komunidad na IP, mga katutubong IP natin. Baka may mensahe ka po sa kanila.
Sa ating mga katutubong mga kabataan, maraming salamat sa tiwalang ibinigay ninyo sa NCIP and umaasa kami na ipagpatuloy ninyo ang inyong mga pangarap, hindi lamang para sa inyong mga sarili, sa inyong pamilya, kundi para sa inyong mga katutubong pamayanan. Maraming salamat.
Alright, thank you so much, Ms. Jordine Rose Ocon, the officer in charge and the Chief of Education, Culture and Development Division under the Office of the Education, Culture and Health of the National Commission on Indigenous People. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. And we will be taking a very short break. And when we get back, we will be talking to Ms. Cecil Alvarez, the President of Global Social Change Network and Director of the Earth Saver Dreams Ensemble UNESCO Artists for Peace, as we talk about the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act. Don't get away. Watchlist will be right back.
Hi! Diana Menezes here, inviting you to check out our program, Super Sabong, ang Big Time Sabong sa television. It's an all-fight Sabong show every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon dito lang po sa Pinoy Extreme Channel. See you there! Labanan na!
Anong support ang mabibigay niyo sa leadership ni Ma'am Jen sa NCIP?
Actually, we've always been supportive of promoting the rights and the rich heritage of our indigenous peoples. Noong pa yun, even way back, because my fiancé then and then eventually my husband considered himself a katutubo from the north, from the Cagayan Valley, Isabela. And when I was working, or when I created PETA as a national theater movement, it was important that the wealth and diversity of our indigenous heritage is known and is utilized for the enrichment of our national identity. And of course, Datu Sibog, the father of Jen, who is also the founder of the Tribal Communities Association of the Philippines, TRICAP, connected, especially when we came back from exile to a restored democracy, into working out a number of programs, which I can tell you, so that the value of our initiative, and well, it was a global effort to have the UN declare a year for indigenous peoples. So it was important to have programs that will banner this cultural diversity, and most especially the angst or the needs of indigenous communities to be fully recognized, to have equal opportunities, and more than anything else, the significance to them of ancestral land.
Ma'am, we have the October, which is
Indigenous Peoples Month. I was in the NCCA then as executive director, and we were the ones who sort of push or sought this from President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo.
now you're proposing to have a year for indigenous.
No, there is already. There was, and that was in 1993. In fact, we were invited because we were recognized as a major supporter for this resolution at the UN. We were asked to do a performance by the Earth Savers to represent the Asian region. So we brought 17 different indigenous peoples, and we performed the agony, death, and resurrection of the forest and the seas. So it demonstrated using the varied cultural traditions as the spine for demonstrating the value of caring for the environment, which indigenous peoples, our ancestors, knew how to live in peace and harmony with Mother Earth. So it is important to highlight that value that we must not cast away because of so-called modernization. So we did a lot. My husband was chairman of the Senate Committee on Environment. So he proposed and executed with TRICAP as the partner for civil society to have the International Conference of what we call traditional and indigenous cultures. And this happened, very big thing at PICC. Even President Cory attended it, and we were able to get UNESCO. It was used in order to highlight the Philippines. UNESCO declared us as the cultural capital of the world at that period because we also labored for a declaration of a decade of culture by UNESCO. So we were heavily concerned in this. And that's why we even, together with TRICAP, Jen, I think, is really best, let's say, appropriately leading NCIP because from childhood she was steeped in this consciousness and action to promote the rights
So
of...
you were happy na siya na yung nasa chairperson ng NCIP?
No, I'm glad because we can continue and innovate with more things. One, we had discussed with Jen maybe the revival of what we call SOIL, the Select Outstanding Indigenous Leaders Award, which we were able to give several years during the lifetime of her dad and my husband. Number two, it is so important to have materials for the curriculum. You talk to our children who study, they don't know the indigenous communities. They know more, mas alam pa nila ang mga states of the United States, okay? Kesa sa masabi nila na meron pang naiiwan na 110 indigenous communities, which we must be familiar with. And that's why we're encouraging artists to draw inspiration from this wealth of ancestral heritage. So we are proposing that SUC, which is the state universities and colleges, partner with indigenous communities and adapt and serve as a cultural bank para ma-preserve and ma-crystallize into curriculum materials para bata pa alam na yon. For instance, we held a special celebration because even the UN in August has what you call an Indigenous Peoples Day. But we were able to have October during the period, which is the month anyway for the UN, to have this Indigenous Peoples Month. Besides the fact that we also, what I say we, are Philippine Center of the International Theater Institute, which is now headed by former Senator Joey Lina, and Earth Savers, since my husband died, Consul General Fernando Peña is now the president. We are very concerned that this wealth of knowledge of indigenous peoples, even about clearing, let's say, forest fires, mas magaling ang kaalaman ng mga indigenous, because they are the inhabitants of the forest as well as for coastal areas. So we must draw their traditions, their good practices, hindi pwedeng iset aside. Kanya, it is important to have this fusion, this synergy, and for our young people to be aware of this heritage which exists but medyo cast aside, kulang, wala sa kaalaman ng mga tao. So we must not forget. The country must not have amnesia. We must allow this wealth of heritage and knowledge to, let's say, continue and evolve even with our contemporary, let's say, happenings and civilization.
We have this hope, ma'am, under the leadership of Ma'am Jan Sibog na magkaroon na ng curriculum about IPs.
Well, I told her about it, and of course she's very enthused about it. When she comes back, we'll assign a meeting with, I've mentioned it before at NCCA. I will be having a meeting with DepEd, and hopefully when she comes back, we can have more detailed conversations on how to execute this plan. Because I believe if this is done right away, in a matter of a year or 2 years, we will have a complete encyclopedia of indigenous peoples in the Philippines. Para hindi hirap ang mga teacher. When I ask, bakit hindi nila alam to? Walang ano. Ay, wala naman ho, saan kami kukuha ng data or materials. So, you have to have a cultural banking. You cannot let it be lost. And then we have to protect the intellectual property rights of indigenous communities.
Do we have legislations, ma'am, regarding this?
Well, there is. We have IPRA, that's one. We have, when you have, it's also in the development plan, it's in the Constitution. I know very well when Sonny Alvarez was still in the Constitution of 1971, 72, he was one of the speakers that stood up on the importance of culture, traditions, and the respect and appreciation for indigenous heritage. So, nandun yan eh. It's ipatupad. Let it really happen. I told Jen, we were talking about it. When I was in NCCA, I was suggesting there should be a one-stop shop of all of the, let's say, indigenous arts and crafts. I was suggesting even to trade and industry that, my God, pwede ba, ang galing merong OTOP, there should be IPCAP. IPCAP means Indigenous People's Creative Arts and their crafts, no? So, if you go to other countries in some indigenous places, merong one-stop shop na you'll be able to know everything there. They can sell their wares and it's regulated. Hindi yung merong mga nanloloko kukunin na mura. Let's say even from the mountain tribes, they'll buy it for 100 pesos and they will sell it in Ermita for 1,000 and they only gave 100 to the creators. So you need to have this kind of regulation. And I know that Chen is very active on the discussion now. They wanted to do an amendment, I think, with the law. And of course, they're standing pat on the right for the NCIP to have the power to protect ancestral lands. Ako, I'm really worried. I'm just giving it as a challenge and a warning. I am afraid, especially in education, to give 100% and sell out to foreigners. You know, our problem, why the wealth of cultural diversity of our indigenous communities have been submerged or cast aside because we were under the Spanish, we were under the Americans, and the whole standard of education was what they imposed at nawala. So when we are doing this Dia del Galion now, which was our resolution from the Philippines with our other partners from Spain and Latin America, especially Mexico and Colombia, it is important that besides appreciating the commonality of Hispanic heritage, that we also underscore the value of our indigenous heritage. Kasi na-castaway yun eh. So you have to pull it back into our consciousness, into our imagination for doing this. And especially filmmakers, people in the arts can utilize this source of inspiration and facilitate a growing awareness and pride of our indigenous habitat, heritage, history, even language. You know that UNESCO even declared a year for mother tongues because you cannot kill the language of our indigenous communities. Once you do that, you decimate their existence.
And meron pang proposal na gustong tanggalin yung mother tongue.
Hindi naman sa proposal na tanggalin, pero hindi ginagawa. Di ba? When you say, mabuti nga ngayon, there is now an effort in education up to grade 3 that they must use the mother tongue. Because it's important that people know this. For instance, I do Radyo Balintataw in our thing. It's being heard abroad because parents of overseas Filipinos, syempre nandun sila in another country, yung anak nila hindi na alam ang rhythm and language and sound. So, by hearing this, it provides them even a platform to be connected to our national language. Para hindi ka kahit na Pinoy-Amerikano ka na, hindi ka nawawalay sa iyong pagkaisip, pagmamalasakit, damdamin, to be concerned about what's happening in the country, and to continue to contribute. So, mahalaga yun. And that's, I think, a very important task that NCIP is doing. And according to Jen, she already talked with Secretary Rex, yeah, Gatchalian, and he gave us, in fact, a message that he would embrace vulnerable groups, definitely, which is his constituency. And we aired it when I was at the COP, at the Climate Change Conference in Dubai, and then in an environmental congress in Abu Dhabi. So there is now a strong push. And I think because you're helping indigenous communities, your Eurotel, your Euro team or TV can connect. Do you know that there is an international association of indigenous broadcasters? So it's important to connect, to link, and to be reinforced in this common dream of making sure that there is this pride, there is this respect, there is this value for our indigenous communities.
Ma'am, I've heard merong meeting si Ma'am Jen sa UN. Now,
Yeah.
what could be the highlights and anong dapat i-emphasize ni Ma'am Jen sa pag-usap
Well,
sa UN?
I think what they have laid out already means not just in principle, not just as a covenant that they sign, as a social contract, pero paano pinapatupad? Ano ang mga programa talaga na binibigay? Okay? Ano yung mga emergency response that is needed? So, dapat talaga, I think Jen is very open to dialogue, to suggestions from all sectors, to utilize the concerns of the UN to really help indigenous communities and all other vulnerable groups. We must, the country committed to it, hindi lang sa salita. How do we fulfill our commitment to the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals? How will we also actualize the Paris Climate Accord? Because our very existence is really endangered. Armageddon will happen if we do not involve all of the citizens, which includes the IPs, in a collective action, not to keep on throwing carbon on the air that will kill us, that we're suffering these climate catastrophes. We have seen the refugee situation, and most of them are indigenous communities. So, ano ang mga dapat gawin? Hindi nag-iintay pa. There should be a concept of immediate plan, many roads to executing. Hindi nag-iintay ng catastrophe saka pa lang sasagutin. And then, alam mo kung ano mga kailangan in terms of education, kulang sa curriculum, kailangan ng mga scholarships, these are all things that will uplift them. And the SDGs is focused on protecting people, planet, promoting peace, fighting poverty through partnerships. And I think Jen will be successful because she's open to partnerships. We're an NGO, but we're a UNESCO Artist for Peace. Also, the ITI is the World Performing Arts Organization created by UNESCO precisely after the war so that we can really work for peace, stop violence. Eh ngayon, gera katakot-takot na naman. Nakita mo ang ating mga Muslim, they were also in trouble with the Maute assault. And then you have a lot of happenings, I don't know, issues on red tagging. Alam mo, syempre kung you feel oppressed, you feel repressed, kailangan isigaw mo kung ano ang kailangan mo. that doesn't mean you're a communist. You're just asking for your right. So, there should be careful, let's say, discernment. Hindi pwedeng dahil nagsabi ka, oh, kailan naman darating dito ang ayuda dahil 2 linggo na kaming mud and water. You know, that doesn't make you a communist. You're just asking for your right, for the duty. So dapat, ang concept ng government is to really be open to hear what are the needs para kagad mabigyan ng tulong o mabigyan ng mga kailangan, what is needed to advance the welfare of the vulnerable groups. I'm not just talking of indigenous peoples, kasama na dyan ang persons with disabilities, kasama na dyan ang mga out-of-school youth. There should be very strong alternative learning platforms, and media, television, radio must be what I call paaralang bayan sa himpapawid, where you are not able to get the data or the necessary information to enhance your capacity and confidence to persevere, to realize your dream of a dignified life. And that's the duty of government. So kailangan rin ang electoral reform. Kasi kailangan malaman ng mga tao, kasi kapit sa patalim bigyan mo ng 500, yung iba 1,000, 5,000. Pansamantala lang. Pero naloko sila. Hindi ganun Kailangan talaga malawak na pagbibigay ng oportunidad sa lahat so that there is good governance and there's responsible citizenship.
Ma'am, one more question about IPRA law.
Yeah.
Do we still have to strengthen the IPRA law? Kasi may mga reports pa rin kami natatanggap ng mga katubo natin na migrate na from province to a different province dahil sa land grabbing. Hindi nila nakukuha.
That's why there is a little worry, I would say, when they say, oh, give 100% to the foreigners. Baka dahil gustong magbigay sa foreigners, ang mga kakastaway yung mga indigenous landowners. Baka bilihin ng 1 million, pero ang value ng kanilang land is not just more than that, pero pagkatapos na ubos yung 1 million, wala na silang tirahan. So there should be a very careful study. I am against 100% for education. Kasi yun na nga ang problema natin, kanya hirap tayong ipasok ang ating sariling self-reliance and confidence and capacity. Dahil automatically, maiiwan ka sa ilalim kung sino may perang nagkokontrol, sasabihin nila, lahat ngayon ng mga palabas, sasabihin nila, kailangan copy Broadway, copy the West End. Tama ba yun? Ang kanya namin binuo ang PETA and Earth Savers is to help the vulnerable groups to express themselves, to give them the capacity to be a mirror of our condition, to forge our national identity, to recharge conscience, to have the vision, to have the armor to fight social ills. Kailangan yun So, sana yung mga nagprepresenta for government positions, talagang maging tapat sila kung ano ang sinumpaan nila at wag silang papasok kung gusto lang pang sarili. Nandun ka para maglingkod, para mapabuti mo ang katayuan ng mga komunidad na iyong pinaglilingkuran. Hindi para isahan sila dahil mas magaling ka sa batas, meron kang ganito, may magagawa. So what is important is fidelity to the service, to the concern, to the care. You'll never have peace unless there is this equity of opportunities. Pag nilalamangan ka, did you hear the statistics? the 100 people who are on top with all of that money is so much more richer than all of the population of the Philippines. Ano yun? Nasaan yung puso? Nasaan yung sharing? Nasaan yung equity? And that's the only time you will have peace. If people don't feel aggrieved. And if they are aggrieved, listen to what is needed para matulungan. Yun dapat. And then we will have peace. Matatapos ang karahasan sa tao at sa inang kalikasan.
Tama. It's not just about the IPs, but all the Filipinos.
Well, especially all the marginalized. Hindi yung gagamitin mo lang para sa boto. Ano ang serbisyo o paglilingkod na dapat ibigay? Huwag mong sabihin, kayo, magbayad kayo ng tax, tapos hindi ka nagbabayad ng tax. O umiikit ka para hindi magbayad ng tax. Dapat meron yung commonality of action. Everybody the same under the rule of law.
Isa na lang pahabol, ma'am. Meron ba kayong wish of good luck kay ma'am dyan sa kanyang buong liderato sa NCIP under?
Well, I am glad that she was chosen because I know deep in the recesses of her mind, she is absolutely committed to advance the welfare of Indigenous peoples. I know this. I saw her as a child until she got married. And I know her father, her parents. We've worked with them closely. As a matter of fact, I even had what you call an argument with Senator Enrile because he was against having representation of indigenous peoples. Pinatawag ako because our office at the Ninoy Aquino Park, we shared then with TRICAP. Siyempre sa province sila, wala pa silang typewriter, wala pang ano. So we gave that. So when I was endorsing Datu Sibug, I wrote an endorsement with the same typewriter. Kasi typewriter namin yun eh. Si Datu Sibug had his own application using our typewriter. So ginamit niya yun, bakit pareho ng type? Tapos sinabi niya, bakit pareho yung sinabi na magaling siya? So sinagot ko, even if he was a senator, I said, precisely they need assistance. What you say is the same quote, is the plaque of recognition we are quoting, recognizing or giving an award to Datu Sibug. So, let's say, yung naging fake narrative, di ba? Yun ang fake news na nangyari. Pero, ang importante, pag may fake news, tumindig ka at sabihin mo ang katotohanan. Manindigan ka. Makilaban ka. Di ba merong show? Basta may katwiran, ipaglaban mo. That's the key. You must stand up for human rights. And that's not to be a communist or red tag. Human rights is inscribed in our Constitution. It is basic, and that's what keeps us human.